So this week, basically, we're talking about the same things that we did last week, but I decided it made more sense to call it the role of spirit, um, or God, which I don't have there, um, but that is essentially what we're talking about. And I just wanted to emphasize, and we talked about spirit, God is spirit. God is everywhere last week. And of course, God is part of everything, even the inanimate, stones, rocks. God's part of everything. It's his creation, it's his world. And so, um, and we all, we all are spirit. Okay. And last week we did, the um spirit. Spirit is it. The body is of no account. Because, when you stop breathing, all right, then your spirit is gone too, and your body is nothing. So, so I'm just trying to um, experiencing God, spirit. I keep doing spirit, God, because a lot of people are turned off by God and they just talk about spirit. Okay. So um anyway, that's why I'm doing that. And so as we just talk about these things each week, um I put a couple scriptures up here just to keep in mind when we're talking about the story tonight. And we talk about this, and we all know this. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Now, okay, and then this Psalm 145:9 uh, is another point that I like to make, and that is the Lord is good to all. I mean, and there's no conditions. I mean, we have been taught, through our various faiths in Christianity, that we have to do this, this, and this to get to God and all that. But no, and the psalm here, the Lord is good to all, and his mercy is over all that he has made. So it's all of us, all the children of God. And okay, that the idea of being made in the image and likeness of God, okay, to me, it is that it's part of us. We are a little bit part of God, so to speak. And um, so the other thing about just this in general, people in general, not doesn't matter what faith or whatever, is God is good. Okay. Now there's scriptures for that too. God is good. And so from within us, okay, even when we are born, we have this instinct in us, and within our heart, we know what is right from wrong. Okay. So that's just keep that in mind. And we're going to visit, um, um, we're going to visit Balaam. Okay. It's now, yes, this goes back to the Old Testament, but one of the things, and so people go, okay, well, Old Testament, New Testament. No, we're going, this is the Old Testament, but Balaam, okay, he he's a man, he's a child of God, and yes, he was a prophet and a soothsayer. But basically, he is composed and has the same uh, whatever, the same inner heart stuff, the same God stuff within him. And so we're going to read his story. Um, okay, he is in Numbers 22, 23, and 24. But we're not going to read all the machinations and the stories and stuff that he went through. But we're going to focus on Balaam and the talking donkey. You all will remember that, I think. Um, and it's just kind of interesting. But we're just looking at, Balaam. Okay, so Balaam was a prophet of God, a seer, okay, or a medium, a psychic, that's what we would call them, who could see things that were hidden from normal sight. And Barak, the king of Moab, believed he could bribe the Aramaean prophet. Balaam was an Aramaean, and make him put a very heavy curse on Israel. Okay. Balaam was a prophet, but he still had his weaknesses and could be tempted by material things. Later on, Balaam's
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
later on, Balaam's refusal to curse Israel only caused the king of Moab to offer even more lavish gifts. So the story, what we have here in the story is that Balaam was called by the king of Moab to put a curse on the Israelites because the Moabs and the other people around there noticed that the Israelite the Israelites were, I mean, the Israelites reproduced a lot, and they were taking up lots and lots of the land. And so their idea was to hire Balaam and have him put a curse on the Israelites. Okay. So that if you put a curse on them, then they could go and defeat them and all that kind of stuff. So, and back then, all right, soothsayer, medium, psychic, same thing, and magicians traveled from one place to another, telling fortunes, predicting events, and uttering oracles. They were consulted by kings, princes, and the wealthy. I think we know that. So we're picking up his story where he's going to go with the king and the princes, and that's where we're going to pick up the scriptures. Okay, Numbers 22, 21 to 23.
So Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Balak. And God's anger was kindled against him because he went. And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now, as he was riding on his she ass and his two servants with him, the she ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and with his sword drawn and held in his hand, and the she ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam struck the she ass to turn her into the way.
Okay, now we have to remember here, look at this phrase up here. The angel of the Lord. Okay, this Balaam is dreaming or having a vision here. Okay. And that kind of makes the story a bit more acceptable and not so highly questionable when you talk about literally talk about a donkey talking. Anyway, so that's what this is all about. And now I'm going to read a lot. This comes from the commentary because the commentary says it better than I could. So at the outset, Balaam was firm in his convictions and was loyal to God. But when King Balak increased his reward and sent princes to persuade him, Balaam was inclined to go. His refusal to go was merely an Eastern custom. He knew the king would send messengers again and offer more gifts. Near Easterners usually refuse when first invited. That is why the king persevered in asking him to come. Okay, that's the old Eastern, Middle Eastern way of, and I think I told the story once about Dr. Lomsa. He, Dr. Lomsa had just gotten to some city friend's house. He was supposed to be there for dinner, but he wasn't, and he was late. And he went to the house, and the people said, "Oh, come on, let's join me for dinner." And he refused, because that's what Near Easterners do. They refuse, hoping, and always in the Near East, then they would come back and urge him and say, "Oh no, come on." Well, that time, these people did not know the Eastern custom, and Dr. Lomsa kind of went hungry for a while. Anyway, that's that custom, and that's why he turned him away once. He turned him away once or twice. You can read the story, but okay. So we read in verse 20 where God said to man, "Come." Okay, so here's the thing. God knew what was in the heart of Balaam. God knows what is in the heart of all of us. He knew he was eager to go and receive gifts and honors. This is why God's anger kindled against him. You see, he thought, Balaam thought, okay, they wanted him to go and curse Israel. All right. But in one of the offers in the other scriptures, they were offering him gold and silver to go do that. And so Balaam was kind of tempted in his conscience and whatnot, thinking, well, maybe he could, maybe he could do both, and he could get the silver, the gold and the silver, and do the curse or whatever. So, it's a conscience thing, basically. And we get into those kind of conscience things all the time. So, and again, once again, we got to remember that this is a vision. The angel of the Lord in this case meant God's counsel. That is, God was really opposed to Balaam's mission to curse the Israelites. Now, so what happens? Here we go. Numbers 22, 24 to 27.
But the angel of the Lord stood in the path of the vineyard, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the she-ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself against the wall and pressed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he struck her again. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where there was no way to turn either to the right or to the left. And when the she-ass saw the angel of the Lord, she lay down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he struck the she-ass with a staff.
Okay, now remember, this is a vision, and God is just showing him, okay, what he's really protecting him, and showing him that his anger toward the donkey. I mean, he should not be angry anyway, but that's what happens when you're pulled. He was pulled between the gold and the silver and silver and the curse, and so he was upset and he was angry. But God was showing this in a dream, okay? And so he has struck the she-ass because the she-ass said, we're not doing this. And so let's go on. 28 through 32.
And the Lord opened the mouth of the she-ass, and she said to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times? And Balaam said to the she-ass, because you have mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hands, for now would I kill you. And the she-ass said to Balaam, then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way with his sword drawn and held in his hand, and he bowed down his head and worshipped on his face. And the angel of the Lord said to him, why have you struck your she-ass 3 times? Behold, I went out to be an adversary against you, because you have directed your course contrary to me.
Okay, so just keep in mind that the ass that Balaam could not see the adversary. I mean, it's even though this was in the dream, Balaam could not see it, and that's why he was taking it out on his donkey, because his donkey would not go forward. So just keep that in mind. But then God showed Balaam the angel standing with the sword, and so Balaam started to understand.
2/3 of the ones that have criminal record or they're active.
Now, this is kind of interesting about the ass or the donkey. In Aramaic, the term ass also means sheer stupidity. People often said, an ass is wiser than you, or an ass could have given a better speech than you. Such sayings were general in Near Eastern speech. And have you ever heard the phrase, and some people use it to be judgmental, you are a dumbass, or what a dumbass. And so it's biblical, okay? And so the incident of the talking ass is used parabolically in rebuking Balaam for his stupidity. In other words, the ass knew more than Balaam did. In English, we would say that his conscience bothered him. So Balaam was guilty of misconduct in using his prophetic powers for the sake of material rewards, and worldly gains. In his heart, he wanted to please both God and King Balak. And of course, that's not possible. And we do that all the time, don't we? So, and I think we all know from the past, divine communication generally took place when the prophet was asleep or in a trance. And it does, or God came to Balaam at night, or he fell into a trance at another point in time.
Can you ask Eleanor to mute, or can you mute her?
I got it.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, and in conclusion, 33 and 34.
And the she-ass saw me and turned aside from me these 3 times. And if she had not turned aside from me, surely now I would have slain you and saved her alive. And Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, I have sinned. For I did not know that thou didst stand in the way against me. Now, therefore, if my mission is evil in thy eyes, I will turn back again.
Okay, now, like I said, there's so much scripture to the whole story. We're not going to read it. You can read it if you like. But basically, uh, through the dream and with the donkey um, stopping him, you know, he recognized that, and that's what God does. For us too. All of a sudden, you might be just dead set on doing something that might not be quite kosher, so to speak, but you keep doing, and then you get a you get a message. That's what I call it. You get a message, um, and you go, oh, okay, I don't do this. And in the end, Balaam blessed Israel instead of cursing it. So, and this statement, I mean, God talked to Balaam, and I just say spiritually because people get confused. It's like it's like a thought. When you think, you don't hear it out loud or whatever. And these thoughts. So and that's spiritual, if you ask me. So anyway, so the understanding is just that these messages or whatever, they uh, they come, and I believe that they come to people. I mean, yes, we're studying this, and we've had to unstudy a good bit of stuff, but even people that don't, that don't do religion or don't do what everything, in many ways they are helped by God, just in little ways every day today. So that's what I wanted to get at with with Balaam. And the other thing too is, really, okay, so Balaam was a prophet, and we always go, oh yeah, well, he was a prophet, da da da. But that's not okay. And if you know anything about from spiritualists, from whatever you read, um, everybody has the capability that mediums and psychics have. Everybody, and we all have that connection to God, that inner thing. We all have it, and so it's just the idea. It's the idea of recognizing it and not, but we become so focused on our goals and it's got to go this way and whatnot, then we don't listen. And then in addition, we're not taught that we can talk to God or that God can talk to us. We're taught that we need an intermediary, and in some cases we need to do all this stuff so that you can become a child of God and everything. But God, like we say, God is everywhere, and God will help anybody. Like that song, God, uh, because we are all children, no matter what we do. So, all right. God's counsel or his guidance, it's working within us and around us all the time. But we just have to recognize his voice, and I just say spiritually but it's mentally, or so to speak. However, because that's how it comes. I mean, so okay. Um, thank you for your contributions. Much appreciated. And so I thought we could just talk about, you know, why can't people hear God? And then last week I had said, you know, we 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 could think about spirit or God happenings, in your life. And sometimes you don't think about it as being spirit or God. Well, you just, and you were lucky and it was just this, and scientifically it was this, that. But no, it happens all the time.